Hey guys, how's it going? So, a little while ago I did a video on the various weird traits in FGO. In that video, we covered a few of the more glaringly weird ones, as well as having plenty of people explain to me that the saber face trait exists for the sake of MHX. Valid point. Well, today we're going to be diving back into the realm that is weird traits, and try to see the logic behind who they are assigned to and why. Let's start with one that launched this entire video. While I was reviewing Seal and looking through her traits, I came across one that doesn't seem too unusual at first. Defender. Now, a defender is pretty clean cut as to what they are. It's a unit with a focus significantly more on defense than on offense. In lore, these are characters as well that either died in the act of defending something, or their most famous tale involves the defense of something. These servants are Lakshmi Bai, the Trung sisters, Ultimate Dog Knight Barghest, Leonidas, both the Vlads, Constantine, Benkei, and of course, Seal. Now, Lakshmi Bai, the Trungs, Leo, Benkei, and Constantine both fit into the category of characters who died defending something, so they all fit just fine. Vlad is an interesting pick because while he was a renowned general and warrior, his most famous feats are acts of offense rather than defense. But he did die in defense of his country, so I guess that counts. UDK Bargy makes sense because she is actively defending the forests of Australia from wildfires and may be one of the most unfortunately timed events in launch history. As for Seal, well, to be honest, I don't know, because while I could attempt to apply logic to her, she is not the Seal that we know properly, but rather a servant-verse version of Seal. As such, she could be the defender of the universe as far as the plot cares, and I bet that's what her role in the story actually is. So, none of these characters then seem out of the ordinary with this trait, right? The issue is that there is a glaring amount of characters that in theory should have this trait that don't. The most obvious of these would be our very own Kohai, Mash. She has been a defender since day one, and even as her kit gets more and more geared towards offense, it doesn't change the fact that she is, by nature, a defender. Then there is Qin Shi Huang, his most ignoble and glorious first emperor. While reducing all of his achievements down to just the construction of the Great Wall is not good, it is a symbol synonymous with his country over 2,000 years after his death. It is a literal stone monument built in defense of the country from invasion. Further still is a character like Bazit. The relic she carries is a divine gift meant to act in the defense of the holder by reflecting any damage that she would receive back at them. This is defense at its finest. Oh, and for those curious, after checking to see what this skill affects in a servant, or what units synergize or utilize the defender trait, no one does as of the recording of this video. Next up is Bunny Servant. Yes, Bunny Servant. This list consists of Shiki Saber if she is in a costume, Saber Astolfo, Triffus costume Astolfo, the third ascension of both versions of Anne and Mary, Skahawk's costume, Bunyan's costume, Super Bunyan's third ascension, Koyan of Light, Summer Lion King in Ascensions 1 and 3, Castore Berserker in Ascension 2, and finally, Alko. Now, I love bunny girls. It's a peak design able to be applied to almost any character and work. Fishnets? Top tier shit. Nikke has done 2 full events based exclusively on bunny girls and they've both been amazing. But all of that begs the question, why? We have a trait already that is animal characteristics, and unlike things like dragon, which is a species distinction, we are simply going further down the taxonomy of animal characteristics to specifically classify bunny servants. I don't think I need to clarify any of these that are on this list because they all have a bunny motif to some degree, with the one exception of Astolfo Triffus. As to why this is a relevant trait, it's because Summer Talak has a skill that reduces the cooldowns and gives critical damage to all bunny servants. Keep making bunny girls lasagna and I will keep buying them. Next up is Obstacle Maker. In lore, there are a number of characters that thrive on the concept of creating problems for others to overcome. In fact, a certain beloved snake of mine has that as a core part of her existence. But she isn't the only one on this list. With 5 in total, we have Vritra, Jinako, Tiamat, Hibiki and Chikaki, and Naknara. Let's address the 2 easy ones here. Vritra is a maker of obstacles in myth and lore, so her being here is just about as natural as it gets. Jinako, or in this case, Ganesh, is both a remover of obstacles and maker of them in Hinduism, so once again, quite fitting for the placement here. Then there's these 3. Tiamat can be rationalized by her being a primordial goddess who served as an obstacle to the coming age of gods. By creating the hordes of demons that the gods had to conquer, it makes sense for her to be here as well. Hibiki and Chikagi, or rather Azumi no Izora, is a little bit more complicated. Azumi no Izora is a Wadatsumi, or ocean guardian. Specifically, he is in control of the tides. Historically, the tides have acted as an obstacle to sailors and fishermen, so by that logic, that can be applied here. Knock is the oddest one out here. Knock certainly stands as an obstacle to us during Lost Belt 6, but not necessarily one large enough to warrant an entire dedicated trait. Rather, I think it more so has to do with her unique biology. Despite how her gameplay may be, in lore she is incredibly powerful. Further, she is able to give a part of her own power to others in order to strengthen them. As a result, she can effectively create obstacles in the forms of other people who have her power, therefore she fits the bill. If you're curious, as of this time, I couldn't find a corresponding skill to justify the existence of this trait, so look forward to whatever that entails in the future. Perhaps one of the most confusing ones on the entire list is simply the Moon trait. This trait, as of the recording of this video, has no purpose. It also only has 2 servants in total with the trait, making it an almost wholly unique one. I want you to do me a favor, dear listener. Pause the video, timestamp your comment, and guess what 2 servants of the 400 units in the game have the Moon trait. No cheating, no editing, leave the comment now. You back? Good. If you guessed Atalante and Grigory Rasputin, then you were correct. Arcoid? Not a chance. The literal goddess of the moon Artemis and her consort Orion? Are you stupid? Of course not. Tame Toma, who is blessed by the moon, or Caligula, who is cursed by it? Absolutely not. It is the girl and the priest put in the cat and Catholic. So, these 2 don't not make sense, but they just seem odd when you look at the overall lineup. Atalante was a devoted follower of Artemis, the goddess of the moon, so it does make some semblance of sense. While Rasputin himself doesn't have any legends pertaining to the moon directly, his noble phantasm does appear to make the Silver Eye cry. Let me know why you think these 2 were given the trait over the other options, because I'll be honest with you, I'm at a loss. Our final trait, or rather traits, is to make a distinction between 2 very similar ones, giant and super large. Giants are, as the name implies, giant. Servants that tower over others in terms of height, sometimes but not always, not fitting all the way within the confines of your phone screen. These are Asterios, both Ibukis, Ivan, Darius, both Bunions, Zhang Yu, Summer Bibi, and King Protea. So we're going to hold on for a second and think about this. There are 2 very clear categories at play here. Giant in terms of human size, and giant in terms of mythological size. Asterios, Darius, and Zhang Yu fit the first category. Zhang Yu in theory fits in the mythological giant category, but he's half horse, I'm going to choose to say that doesn't count. It's all arbitrary anyway, so who cares? That leaves the mythologically huge giants. Ibuki, Ivan, Bunyan, Bibi, and KP. Funny enough, the shortest of this bunch is most likely Ivan, even assuming they are in their noble phantasm forms. KP is, of course, the tallest of the group. While BB may seem out of place, don't forget the absolutely massive size she is able to grow to in her NP. Bunyan is the same way, able to become much larger than she initially appears. But how does this differ from super large? Super large is, in essence, the evolution of giant, becoming something even bigger. The servants with this trait are Summer Bibi, KP, Tiamat, and Beast Erish in Ascensions 2 and 3 specifically. Both Geisha in London as well as Amalgamation Koyan of Dark from Tunguska fit this bill as well, but because we don't summon them, I'm going to leave them out of this. We've already talked about BB and KP. Both are able to grow to a size that allows them to just turn sheer strength into Noble Phantasm level damage. It is why KP doesn't have a real NP. She literally just crushes you. The other interesting note from this is that it means that Bunyan has a growth cap, which I believe is referenced at certain times, but it's interesting to have it confirmed like this. Tiamat, on the other hand, is being accounted for due to her Noble Phantasm. While I don't believe we actually get a full read on her size when she enters her NP form, if we just base it on what we saw in the Babylonia Singularity, she is insanely massive, almost the size of a city on her own. So she certainly fits fairly well as well. Then there's Beast Erish. I do not know what is going on with Erish in the Servantverse, but if I had to take a guess, she is likely similar to Space Ishtar, who is an entire galaxy bundled into a person. Why Space Ishtar doesn't have this trait in at least her Ascension 3 is beyond me. Regardless, where there is a Sapphire Galaxy within Space Ishtar, there is more than likely a Ruby Galaxy within Space Erish, one which she is possibly able to better control and as such expand her presence to the world around her more effectively, making her a super large unit. Another honorable mention who in theory should be able to fit this bill is, once again, his most generous and exquisite first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, given his true body is a massive robot capable of deploying a Dyson Sphere-style patrol net around the world to monitor it. But what do I know? Anyway, those are some more of the weird traits. As FGO continues on, they keep adding newer and weirder nonsense, and quite frankly, I'm here for it. Speaking of being here, check out the Patreon link below for early access to videos and other projects I'm working on. Thank you to all my patrons who help keep this show rolling. Other ways to support me are by doing all the YouTube things, checking out my links below for my Discord, Twitch, and Twitter. But for now though guys, keep your chin up. Peace.